This broadcast is appropriate for all ages right here on hashtag WeAreMovieClub. Salutations, I am Camerai, and I am conversation ready. Today we're here to talk about Black Panther, amongst other things, as we are continuing the Marvel trend. Now granted, this is like the latest movie to come out before Infinity War. This is the closest thing to coming out on disc or release or whatever. While Infinity War is coming out in theaters, so there is that going on. I'd like to jump in and talk about this, but it got so much weird coverage from what I saw that I got to say a couple things. One of the things I'd like to second, I don't remember where I heard it from, but it's not just a great black movie. Like, that's the verbiage that I was hearing thrown around. It's a great movie. It doesn't need to be compartmentalized like that. It is a good, I'll be straight up. It's a good movie. It's got a good plot going on. I'm gonna probably watch it again sometime after this, just to try to like soak it in a little better, because we did watch it. We did watch it over in Rabbit/Camerai, and a little bit of a mess to try to watch and talk to people and take notes. Plus dealing with the high quality of the movie coming through. It got about like a minute behind at one point. Quality just did not keep up. Will you not hit things? Thank you. Sorry, the cat's like whacking the keyboard with his tail, and occasionally he's actually getting button presses off on it. So that's Black Panther. Still can't figure out like how to do this right. Oh well. That's okay. Let's actually talk about the movie, because it's getting later than I want here. It opens on a narrative, which I didn't expect. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect that. T'Challa, like, I don't know a lot about T'Challa. I know that Wakanda is an African country, which means it's predominantly black. That doesn't really mean anything by itself, because it's an African nation. It doesn't mean the same thing as black people here, which is part of kind of what we see in this movie. And the narrative opens on Wakanda. Wakanda opens on the vibranium that they have, which is what makes Wakanda special. And it was like a secret nation up to a point. Until like some of the vibranium got out, and it was like, oh, where did this come from? It came from a magical land called Wakanda. And while a lot of Africa is in chaotic ruin, I'm not saying that they're really like in ruin, but my impression is that it's a pretty rough place over there. And calling it Africa as a whole isn't really right, because like Egypt's a thing, South Africa is its own thing. Uganda, Niger, all these places are actual things, but they still have a lot of tribal societies over there where they speak tribal dialects. So you don't just speak African or North African or even South African. South Africa, you probably speak English, or you speak a localized dialect. And then there's places that speak French instead of English, or Dutch. What's the Dutch language? I guess it's Dutch. I guess maybe the Netherlands speak Dutch. Maybe that's what it is. Because of just how it was very poorly colonized with people already living there. Let's just be honest. We did not treat, or the Europeans did not treat it well, and the Africans didn't treat each other well, for the record. It's probably the wrong time for that conversation. Let's talk about a good movie. We can do world history on another day called Never. But T'Challa's meeting with two dudes in America, supposedly. And the mention of the vibranium robbery from Age of Ultron comes up, and Ulysses Claw is the guy who stole it then. And if I remember right, someone chopped his arm off. I can't remember who. So we know that if he comes back, he's either going to have like a prosthetic like Phil Coulson has in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or he's going to have some weird stump thing. I don't know. And T'Challa accuses the young prince of betraying Wakanda, I think. And thinking back on it, like, I don't even know if it was T'Challa. I think it may have been his father. Because it's all in like a weird time period. Obviously, it's a younger Michael B. Jordan, who turns into Killmonger, probably before he started Killmongering. So there's just that kind of weirdness to the scene, the flashback and the disconnect, and like you see the suit and you think it's the same person, but because of how the powers of the Black Panther work, it's different. Because, and this is one of the big discussions that we had going on during the movie, was that it's spiritual in nature. A lot of the African superpowers are spiritual in nature. It's all magic based and it's all tribal spirit stuff. It's just typical there. There's not a lot of scientists doing like experiments that can cause radioactive spiders to bite you. It's communicating with the dead and the spirits in nature, and psychedelic drugs, things like that. So there's an herb that they can use to send you to the spirit world, to where you can commune and then possibly gain powers there, so that can turn you into essentially a super soldier. It's why Black Panther and Captain America can both outrun cars. And then you give him the vibranium suit on top of that, and dude's nearly unstoppable, you would think. So it's interesting to see all that. But it appeared that the beginning of the aftermath of that encounter between Black Panther and maybe a young Killmonger, let's say maybe, oh my god, what does it say? That he might have gone to jail for whatever he was doing, for like helping Claw get the vibranium or whatever. And then, oh, you know what? It may have been Killmonger's dad. See, that's the thing. That's the problem with telling, like, especially with me being distracted. I was very distracted. Is that, like, there's a story, and then there's a story before the story, and then it's all told out of order. So you've got to kind of piece together. So I guess we should focus on the actual, like, T'Challa storyline. But a lot of the other stuff does come into play, because you got Forrest Whitaker's character there, who set it up to kill that Black Panther, I think. So there's that going on too, because he's there to avenge his father amongst other things, and yeah, okay. So, well, we start out with T'Challa trying to like clean up things, and I don't know if they're going through Wakanda or it's a nearby place, but like he jumps a human trafficking convoy by himself and like takes out pretty much everybody except for one last guard, and because his spy was there, like he got all nervous or whatever, and so like he hesitated, and so they got to make fun of him for that apparently. But they saved all the people. They saved the women and children from being human sex slaves or whatever they were going to be, because that's usually what you do with people that you just cart in the back of the van like animals. It's not a good place to be. So as far as we could all tell, it's human trafficking. Sure enough, when he pauses and hesitates, one of his bodyguards has to engage. And that's kind of where like they get to make fun of it. It's like, oh, you had to be saved. And I don't know why I'm doing this accent for African, but I don't have a good African. So we'll just have to see. So the ship lands in Wakanda, like, because they took a spaceship to this convoy bashing, which is the more confusing part, why they didn't see the spaceship. Like, it's very clear why they didn't see Black Panther, because he was like up in a tree dressed in all black. But the ship should have given something away. Even though it's cloaked, it should be making some kind of noise. There's a lot of like just Deus Ex Machina, really, like, to some of the explanations here. It's like, we just have better toys. Whereas like the Marvel superheroes in America have been dealing with like space, and Nick Fury always finds the best toys. And they have literal sneakers that don't make sound when they touch the ground. They have like nanite suits. It's really weird that they have all this cool technology, and it's all from having the vibranium. Like it's like a spaceship that crashed into a mountain once upon a time, like years before civilization there, and Wakanda like grew up around it and adapted to it. So like that's where like the specialty stuff comes in. That's why vibranium's such a big deal. So in like now we go like to some museum. Like I don't know if it's in Africa or what, but it's just Killmonger doing a heist. He's assisting Claw in stealing more vibranium. Like I guess he's the expert at like finding it, and then Claw's the expert or helps him extract it. I guess I don't know. I guess that's what it is. So I don't know what to say about this scene other than like it's actually really well done. Like he's just checking out the like this painting and some art, and then I guess he poisoned the curator's coffee or whatever. She starts spazzing out. The paramedics come in, shoot everybody, and then like Claw even has like one guy try to run away, and then shoots him. And Killmonger's like, why are you messing around? Why are you doing this? And it's like, oh, it makes it look like an amateur does it. And my South African is real rusty. So you're going to have to forgive me there, because it'll take me probably like 2 minutes or so just going through accents to do that. No one wants that. So he has a robot hand. He has both arms. And it does a couple different things, which is fun to see. But like the thing that we get to see do is like Sonic Blast the glass open, and it's a hammer, and he Sonic Blasts the hammer, and it's just the vibranium left over because it had like this outside crust or whatever. He snaps off the wood and takes it with him. I don't know what you do with solid vibranium. Like I don't know how you process it. Like that's got to be a thing that's like a world secret at this point. But sure enough, you can sell it all day long at high prices because the CIA is interested, as we see later on. So Wakanda gets all excited. I don't know what their deal is. Maybe it's because of the way T'Challa like came to power with his dad dying in that explosion. But they're having this boat party that leads to this very, very intricate waterfall set. And I want to mention this because I know there's some caves back there that, like, because we see some challengers, the gorilla tribe or whatever, come out of there. But a lot of that is just people have to be really good climbers just to get up to the caves in the first place. And then to get to their seats in the rafters. Because it's not rafters, it's friggin' rock ledges. They have to climb up there. Or they have to start at the top of the waterfall and climb their way down. So it's really impressive that everyone there is like so fit that they can actually do that. So it's so funny that leads to all that, and then like he takes, I don't know, I really don't know what the difference is. It seems like it's the same herb, but there's the anti-Panther potion, and there's the Panther potion. And so he takes one to power down and one to power up. And they both end up like with psychedelic effects. Now, psychedelic may be the wrong word. Psychological effects, because when T'Challa powers down, he's obviously not used to himself at that level. But it's essentially like he's got to fight with a cold. Let's say it that way. That's the impression that I get. It's like he's not at full strength is his whole point. Sure enough, it's a coronation ceremony. And they start chanting for like, let's just skip all this and go on. Is there any challengers? And sure enough, someone from the gorilla tribe, I think that's what it's actually called, challenges them, and they fight. And T'Challa ends up locking him up in like a triangle hold with his legs and actually making him tap out, which was impressive that he didn't go for a kill route, considering they started with like spears, and spears are long-range weapons that you stab each other with. So for the fact that that never occurred, no stabby stab, was fairly impressive. Cat, I'm really about to just kick you off this table. Seeing the lockup and everything, and actually go to like a chokehold to have him come out of it, and be crowned king for it too. And it's a really interesting thing. Someone pointed out that it's really hard to cheat there, and like the only things that I could think of was that like someone tampers with the anti-Panther potion. Either he's too strong in an advantage, or he's poisoned and he's at a less of an advantage than normal. But it's not like you can see anyone get away with like putting thumbtacks in the water or like shooting in or anything like that. It's very much like Game of Thrones when like people did trial by combats. This is essentially exactly what it is a trial by combat, where they're not fighting over a crime but like a claim to the throne, which I don't know if you really want to do that with like a fight, because it doesn't work out good later. I'm just saying. But of course, he's the good guy, so he doesn't kill him. He takes the anti-Panther potion, and he has psychedelic dreams for a little while, which is kind of interesting that to get the powers back, that you have to go through that experience. And it's not as simple as they make it look up until this point in the movie, because later on they go through some other things. So, but T'Challa is all about reaching out and having Wakanda be more active in helping other communities, other countries, if you will. We get to go see a ranch that has CG rhinos that are really well done. I was really impressed with the CG rhinos in this movie, especially later on. And it turns out they have wrist phones. Like, I don't know why you'd wear a watch. Honestly, even if it does this. But so they can do this, and then their friend or whatever from bust up, so tits up if you're a layman, Jesus, are like floating, and it almost looks like it was gonna rotate off, but like I guess it was adjusting when I saw it rotate. But it's super clear cut holographic technology that's like, give that to the world, because right now, like, to get the equivalent of that technology in the real world, they have to do like a whole stage worth of lights to do Miko something. I can't remember her name, but she's like this green-haired J-pop star. She's literally nothing but a hologram, but people go to concerts to see her. And they've got that technology on their wrist. That's how crazy Wakanda is in all this. So that's what we're seeing. That's what we're dealing with on this level, which is kind of what like it ends up being Killmonger's motivation for coming back. Or I say back, but he never really was there before. It's not his country. So that's kind of a disappointing angle of Killmonger's like motivations, is that like he's not returning. He's not reclaiming the throne. He's claiming it for the first time. But of course, Wakanda's so fancy that they even have court. What's this claw viper or anything? Whatever. A secret underground lab or lair where they do experiments and whatnot. And so we get to see the auto shoes and the auto suit. It's all nanites. And I want those form-fitting shoes. It'd be so great to just have shoes that like fit properly, because it just doesn't happen. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. So maybe that's what I need to look into. I just need to find shoes that use strings to simulate the stupid shoes in Black Panther. And I'm almost surprised they didn't name this like Wakanda or something. I think they wanted the name out there, the Black Panther name, and rightly so. They should want that. Let's see. So of course, what do you do next once you get your cool new upgrades? You put your bald bodyguard ladies in wigs, and you go out to a casino. You know you do. It's a completely natural reaction to the situation that is happening. But it all turns out to be a sting operation to get at Claw, because they get some kind of information that whatever is there. And then, of course, I'm going to call him a SHIELD agent. He says he's from the CIA, but we've seen him displayed as a SHIELD agent previously, because he's the guy that, if I remember correctly, he is interviewing the Baron at the end of Avengers or Captain America: Civil War. So that's what that is like, and that's fine. He can pretend to be CIA, whatever. But I'm going to call him the SHIELD agent because I don't care what his name is. So like it's a sting operation for him to get a claw or get his hands on the vibranium. And Black Panther's there to stop the exchange, essentially, and collect the vibranium because it's rightfully Wakanda. It's stolen Wakanda property. So the deal happens with the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. He mentions that, like, his bodyguards aren't there for him. And so they make one of the female bodyguards, and the, like, engagement starts. And it's really cool to see, like, it just take off. But the collapsible spears come out, like, probably a little too early, for being honest. Claw uses his little arm cannon on T'Challa, which is really interesting because his whole arm separates, and it's literally just like a diode thing, and it causes like this sonic blast that just obliterates the popcorn stand that T'Challa picks up in front of him, and then throws T'Challa across the room. Because it was really cool to see the thing blast apart, and then T'Challa's already taken off, and is then landing on the ground. I don't know how they did that shot, other than like as soon as he put the thing up, they pulled him. Because to get a live shot like that, it's just really impressive. The movie's incredibly produced. Disney does not waste money on their products. Which is very much why they tend to stay on top of in the quality department. So, oh God. Of course, that leads to a car chase. Claw gets out there. They have bulletproof cars that they're driving. T'Challa, I think, ends up riding one of the cars for a while. The two bodyguard ladies end up sharing a car, and I think they 3D print a nanite car, and the spy lady is like the backup reserve, and she starts driving. It's like, what are we even doing here? Like, it's almost Superman levels of weird and boring, but like, there's enough probability and human error in there that like, it still stays interesting. So it's this really neat compromise between being overpowered and being able to be the subject of mistake. But they manage to catch him and take off his arm at least, and then they drag him to an interrogation room. So they let S.H.I.E.L.D. at him first. But the conversation continuously just kind of switches over. It makes me feel like he was let go from S.H.I.E.L.D. and actually is CIA, because he's constantly asking about vibranium. It's like, that's not the point here. He's an international thief. He's stolen international property that rightfully belongs to Wakanda. Why do you care how much of it exists? Why do you care about how much that he saw, how much he got his hands on? It's a very greedy thing to ask. Now, granted, even if he knows so that, like, just for the world record, none of anybody's business. It's nobody's business how much of whatever's in Wakanda. Wakanda can deal with it, and if they have problems, then they can start announcing that. And if that's something that, like, someone wants to know before they deal with Wakanda, that's between them and Wakanda. But I would imagine that, like, a small country that has spaceships that can fly around and help all around Africa, you're probably going to want them to help you out and not bother them too much with stupid questions. It's just a guess. Because even if you don't want their help, like, you don't want them to just, oh, conquer you instead. Because you don't have spaceships. So, of course, Killmonger shows up because someone had to, and he bombs the wall, the interrogation room, and pulls him out. I have no idea why any interrogation room ever actually has access to the outside. It should not share a wall with the outside, no fucking windows, shine lights in their faces the whole time, put them in the middle of a building. I'm fine with that. Just stop with the trope of, like, blew up the outside wall cliche. I'm done with it. Let's see here. So yeah, he totally steals claw and runs off. Back in Wakanda, the general's all upset that the agent came back with them, because the agent took a hit when the wall came in, and they used the vibranium to help save him. Don't ask me how that worked. They put like a little bead in him, and it started fusing with his body. It's alien tech as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't make any sense. So eventually, like, Killmonger gets Claw to a plane yard. They're planning on going somewhere, escaping, and they shoot it out. It all comes down to like them not trusting each other, I think. But sure enough, Killmonger ends up getting Claw, because Claw's got one arm and is already injured, which was dumb for him to fight in the first place, unless he knew for a fact that he was going to get got, which may have been the case, because he's got good instincts for the most part. But so Killmonger flies back to Wakanda with this shitty plane and a dead body, and presents Claw. It's like, I demand to see the king. I've killed a traitor to the country in servitude, or something like that. Like, there was actually some elegant stuff being said somewhere in there. Forgive me, I missed it. Somebody was probably yelling something about hating gays. There's problems in the chat on occasion. When you get enough people in a room together, there's always some kind of problem. So let's see. Yeah, you can take your butt and get out of here. So of course Forrest Whitaker is the kind of the elder council guy or whatever. Ooh, I pushed you off. Haha. And he talks to T'Challa, and he kind of tells him Claw was assistant stealing the vibranium, and it all came down to like previous people, one way or the other, and it was Whitaker's fault because he didn't stop it, or he didn't take care of it. Like, we've got the agent waking up. There's a lot of things happening all very quickly. The pacing gets a little rushed here because they want everything in place for the throne room to kick off. And it makes sense because the throne room's a big thing. It happens in the 100. It happens in, oh my god, Game of Thrones. It's any fantasy story, really, like Princess Bride, even if I remember correctly. A lot more happens around dungeons in that movie. So Killmonger comes in as a prisoner of all things, and he seems to have all the cards, though. Like, he's very confident, and he talks big about doing what the previous king couldn't do, and then he declares his intent for the throne, and everyone's laughing and having a good time at his expense. I don't understand why. I really didn't. I was like, none of you are forward thinking on this. None of you are looking at, like, he did X, Y, and Z on purpose. He obviously has an intent. Oh, we obviously told you his intent. What's the missing piece? And they're just laughing at him. And he declares he's the son of a prince that a previous Black Panther killed. And I can't, for the life of me, piece together if it was obviously like his father's brother or something like that. So he's the son of his father's brother. But I can't piece together if the Black Panther was the king at the time who killed the prince for betraying Wakanda, and maybe that's what happened. It very obviously explains it in there, and if you watch the movie, you'll get the good explanations, I promise. Just don't listen to your idiot friends while they're chatting away at you. But he says some things that are kind of weird and concerning here, because I was actually on his side for quite a bit there, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. I understand his motivations. He's a little Hitler-y. Oh, he's real Hitler-y, because he apparently really hates white people. And I don't care about being a white person that he hates. It's a fictional character. I get it that it's a concept, it's a structure. I get that there's also a message behind it. But evaluating it somewhat objectively or subjectively, however you want to cut it, I'm not really on board with supremacists of any kind. So it was kind of a weird thing that, like, he's talking about waging war against white people, and granted, he grew up in America, and it's not the best environment all the time for that sort of thing. I've probably put my foot in my own mouth way too much on this topic today, so I'll try to limit it. The perception, at least, because I haven't personally seen it, is that white people get a lot of more opportunities that black people don't, and so taking that mentality and essentially becoming not a super soldier, but like a really excellent soldier and mass murderer, the way Killmonger did, and then having the genetic stock that he did, and then eventually getting the potential of actually getting Black Panther powers. It's just crazy potential behind him. But like, it's just, I get that maybe the idea of purging the whites out of Africa, like apartheid and all that, it's actually a huge thing there. But that makes the most amount of sense, even if it is a little bit evil. The final solution, the cleansing of any kind, it's just how it is. It's not a good thing, typically. Now, granted, if it's like you're trying to kill the last of the vampires to save the world, well, maybe you have an argument. But that's not what we're talking about. So he's talking about like conquering the world, like Hitler did, or talked about, rather, not that he conquered the world. But like just where Wakanda is and everywhere he has to go, it's like he's got to go over other countries. So he's either talking about conquering other countries that have blacks in them. So it just didn't make sense to write it that way. I liked the idea of Killmonger as a Wakanda and Hitler, where he wanted to take over the world, but he left out the racist part. Like, I actually get behind him a little bit. It's like he's going to unify the world as right and serve the people. He's going to take care of the people who need it, even though they can't sit up on the ivory tower like the Wakandan royalty did. Like, he had a lot of points, and it was more of like the poor versus the rich. But Black Panther was originally written in like the 60s and 70s, if I'm remembering correctly. I could probably just look it up, because we do have the internet at our fingers. Like, so there's a lot of stuff that's written into the basis of the character for the time, and I don't blame them in the slightest for that era. Like, nowadays, other than like life peril stuff, it's hard to argue. But back then, like, they still had people that remembered real slavery, and then like they were actively fighting for their civil rights. Because people forget 100 years ago, we didn't see everybody who's a person as people, and it's kind of fucked up. Let's see. It looks like Black Panther is the first superhero of African descent in mainstream American comics, having debuted years before early African American superheroes such as Marvel Comics' The Falcon, 1969. So that would mean 1966. That is a hell of a time to have something like that. And for the record, it's created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, who are not black guys. So good for them for taking a risk on it, because we need ideas like this, and they're not coming today, which is a shame. Okay, so long story short, at this point, he challenges T'Challa. T'Challa is too messed up in the head to fight him correctly. He kills Whitaker in the middle of the fight, Forrest Whitaker, because he tries to be the sacrifice of life that's needed to end the match. It's not how the rules work. Killmonger takes it, because he's a serial killer, basically, takes it as a free kill that he can rack up later. And then throws T'Challa over the waterfall, which, as it was later explained to me, does not count as killing him. Like, I didn't realize the fight ended when one of them gave up or one of them died. So you wouldn't throw somebody off the waterfall, because then you can't prove that they're dead. Like, you have to send someone down to get them, and then he's going to wash downstream, which is what happened, and the guerrilla tribe saved him, which was interesting. But, like, of course, like, on the eve of anybody's induction like that, like, everybody goes into panic mode, the loyalists start to scramble, everybody for the New Order just kind of falls in step, because he's the rightful king. And as far as I'm concerned, Killmonger was the rightful king. Like, it took about halfway through the war at the end for someone to explain to me that no, he's not, because T'Challa stands, he's still the rightful king, because the challenge never ended, because there is no time period on it. If one of them runs away to America for 10 years, and then the other one finds them, then the challenge is still up. Which is dumb, but still. So back in the secret lab or whatever, there's these stupid arguments about freedom, and the spy, like between the spy and one of the soldiers. The spy ends up trying to exit the agent to get him out to safety, which seemed very nice and noble. But like in 99% of situations, other than like having heroes like that, I guess you're gonna ditch that dude. You're like, no, here's the situation. You're on your own. Bye. Or I'm gonna get in this jet and fly away. You can come with, but get out of my way. The first order was actually really clever though by Killmonger, is to burn all the Panther herbs that they used to do the spiritualism. Now, like you would think that like they wanted to like save a couple so that they could replant and regrow it, but they just grabbed enough to make a potion later. Even though they didn't know T'Challa was still alive. So maybe the plan was to replant later, but they use it on T'Challa when they find him because the gorilla tribe found him and put him on ice, which I thought was really funny. So he declares to burn the thing. He even beats up an old lady about it. And then he declares he's going to conquer the white world, which again, like, just was kind of jarring. Like, it's like, really? Why are we going that way? Just conquer the world. You'll get there. Especially since he's surrounded by predominantly black country. It's like, it just didn't make sense. It's, you're going to pick up all your stuff, fly to America, to where you were from, and take that over? Sure. Why not? And then the Europeans, and then that's still like not even a third of the world's population. If we're being honest, between America and Europe, we might have a third. But I want to say like China and India make up a third. Like they're a couple billion people. I think India's 1, and then China might be 3. It's ridiculous. Oh, 2 probably. So that's a 3. That's almost half. So yeah, math works. The guesstimate. So let's see. The loyalists go to the neighbor country to get help, and I don't know if it's a neighbor country or it's a different tribe within Wakanda. It wasn't. I didn't have time to make it clear at the time, but it's the gorilla tribe, which I didn't know they were the gorilla tribe until well into this series of scenes. So I was kind of taken aback, like, why did they write this like this? So they go to the neighbor clan to get help, and they talk to the chief, and they start chanting, and it felt really racist. I was like, why are they doing monkey chants? That's not cool, guys. But it's their whole gimmick is that they are the gorilla clan, so they mimic the gorilla to do it. So it's probably still racist, but it has legitimate reason for being there. I didn't write the stupid thing. I didn't write the comic. I didn't write the movie. I just felt, it felt bad. I was like, no, that's not right. But they've got T'Challa on ice, which I thought was funny. Because they iced him, which is normally how you kill somebody, but they're saving him. Ironic, maybe, is the word. But he's in a coma, and they use the herbs to heal him. Of course, once they heal him, or they use the potion, his super healing kicks in effect, because he's essentially Captain America. It's really funny. It's like the super serum was actually in this plant the whole time, halfway across the world, from America and World War II. I don't know why that's so funny, but it really is. It's like you're just looking in the wrong place, bub. So, in the Wakanda capital, we literally have a civil war happening. The loyalists are still trying to stand for T'Challa, where like the New Order. That's really what it is. It's not a resistance. It's not a rebellion. It's the New Order, because they believe they're legitimized. They're not rebelling against the throne. Like they're just fighting all over the place, and it's pretty cool. It's really cool to see them do that before we get to Infinity War, because we should have been able to see that sort of thing for Civil War, or at least parts of Civil War, but we never really got it. So it's interesting to see that we do a Civil War here in Black Panther, of all places, and well before we do Infinity War. And it may have been like a budgeting thing even, now that I think about it, like, because doing production like that for the mass fields that they end up using for both movies, like, it may have if they share scenes like that, it may have actually just been cheaper to do those scenes back to back. And that would make a lot of sense, actually. That would actually be a really smart move on Disney's part, as the production company. I get that it's a Marvel thing, but, like, Disney's got all the money. That's where it's going. We've armored rhinos. I thought it was so cool. Like, I felt bad that, like, the rhinos were, like, just loose on their own and that they might get hurt, but they've got armor. And they're cute. They're giant. They must have, like, massive poos, but they're cute. Killmonger kills the general, the female bodyguard general, because a bunch of them try to, like, capture him or whatever. And so the remaining ones actually managed to lock him down with their spears, which was impressive, because they're all pushing in an interlocking fashion. So he has nowhere to shove the shield, the spears. But we see him do this, like, spirit bomb energy blast thing to knock them all off before they can take the necklace, which actually holds the suit in it. So if they take the necklace from him, all the nanites or the holographic cubes, whatever they are, would actually retract into the necklace. Man. But, I mean, it's just so sad. And, like, the Wakanda Forever happens a couple places. It happens at the induction ceremony, which I forgot to mention, and when that general dies, because it is her getting her throat slit or whatever that happens, and it's crazy to me. Like, yeah, Wakanda Forever, fuck this guy. Because, like, any respect, like, I had for him kind of, like, died at that point. Like, because he didn't care about ruling. He didn't care about creating anything. He just wanted to burn part and or all the world. And while that's fun in a villain at some point, like, I lost respect for him as a ruler, as a king of Wakanda. It's like, well, enough of this guy. Let's bring T'Challa back. I always like the villains trying to come in and take it. Like Doctor Doom ruling Latvia. Yeah, whatever, but he's actually doing the job too, so it doesn't really bother me. Plus, lots of Doom bots. So if he gets mad and crushes a servant, it's usually a bot. Let's see. Where are we at? T'Challa's sister, the young princess, like, actually has these really cool sonic gauntlets that he end up getting destroyed, but I thought it was a really cool device. It was kind of reminded me of, like, the Shocker in the Spider-Man cartoons, but, like, I guess it's sonic instead of electrical. Whatever. It'd be cool to see her come back with those at some point, but I don't know if we really need a Bucky in the Black Panther universe. And then when T'Challa's pinned down as well, he uses his own little energy blast to get free, and he ends up tackling Killmonger down a well. So now neither general or leader or whatever you want to call them are on the field at all. It's pretty insidious, honestly, at that point, because, like, why is everyone fighting? Like, neither one's there. You don't know who's alive, who's dead. You're supposed to be fighting an ideal, or an ideals, and some people are just fighting for duty. It's like they don't actually care, but they're obligated to fight. And they care enough about honor in Wakanda that it matters. So, yay. So, of course, when they get underground, they're basically on the subway railroads, the mag lifts things, and of course their suits don't work so well while the mag's activated. So there's, like, these small windows of opportunity where they're both vulnerable. So it's all about making use of that small thing. It becomes a war of attrition in the battle. It's like, who makes the mistake? Oh, you made a mistake, stab. Oh, you made a mistake, stab, stab. And eventually, of course, because the movie's called Black Panther, T'Challa ends up stabbing Killmonger, and it's obviously a lethal blow, but they keep the spear in because that actually keeps him alive a little bit longer. And instead of getting help so that he can live the last of his days in a cell, Killmonger refuses and is like, no, it's cool, I'll just die. Let's just sit here and talk a moment. And they actually have, like, this really nice talk, like, now that he's mortally wounded. And he, like, takes in whatever view he has, because they go out to like a cliff. And so it's a really nice moment. I like that it ended like that. I didn't necessarily want Killmonger dead because it seemed like he was a good antagonist, but they tend to really take a habit of killing off villains and stuff in these movies where they shouldn't. Because if you go ahead and you start killing off heroes and villains, like for real, because Infinity Gauntlet's not gonna count. Spoilers, whatever. I don't give a shit. It's really problematic because in comics, even when the people who survive every ridiculous scenario you throw at them, like they still come back. Like when they finally die, it's like, oh, that was a Skrull. I'm not a shapeshifter. And then it turns out they are. So, back up top, like, while they're fighting everything, like, the Loyalists are finally shielding in, and then the Guerrilla Clan comes to save the day. And the New Order even, like, has, like, one last attempt to try to, like, take out some of the Loyalists. Battle Rhino goes right for the soldier, and then stops and licks her face, because they train the stupid things. So, like, I don't know why you think the Battle Rhinos are going to help you the entire time. Because they'll recognize their trainers. Sure enough, the New Order ends up surrendering with the reinforcements from the Guerrilla Clan. So it really seemed like they didn't have to do much other than show up, but bully they did, you know? So the line exactly was, because I did write it down, my people would rather die than live in bondage. Now, maybe that's not the exact line, but because it gets the chains or whatever. But it was a nice moment. It was a good ending. And then the second ending, or the third ending, really, because there's the battlefield, there's the fight, then there's the aftermath. T'Challa gets some kissing. I think it's a little spy lady, if I'm remembering right. And good for them. Good for getting some. And then they start doing like an outreach program together, and it's eerily familiar. And I don't like that they stole it from Luke Cage, but I understand why they purposed it. I just don't like it. So here's where they got the idea, because let's be honest, these people who make these movies don't understand how to make these movies on their own, so they lean on source material, but they don't bother to do the research properly. So they end up misappropriating the research material. So the initiative, part of the initiative was that the Avengers were going to go to neighborhoods and just do appearances. They were going to move into a neighborhood and stand there. And like Luke Cage literally explains this, because he's kind of the headpiece for this, because that's what Luke Cage is all about. He's all about going to run down neighborhoods and protecting the good people who still live there from the gang members and stuff that ruin it. So he says that's what we're going to do. We're going to show up in our Quinjet. We're just going to stand on your corner. You're not the bad guys or the criminals are going to be so scared to act that they're not going to come out from under their rock. Eventually they're going to lose business, and it's going to push activity out of the neighborhood. It's what we want, and eventually we'll get enough people to stand enough places that they won't have anywhere to run. So like it's actually a really good plan to do it, but of course it's all part of the Civil War ruse, and the initiative to put 5-man teams in every American state, like to start with. So it's just, that's where that comes from, and they took it away from Luke Cage and gave it to T'Challa, which I would be fine and I understand, but I really think he would do it more locally. I think they would work on not expanding Wakanda's borders, but increasing the peace with Wakanda's neighbors directly, because especially in the comics, like a lot of the times when Tony goes and sees T'Challa doesn't want to do anything to do with anything. He's like, I'm dealing with a whole country here. What do you need? Because he's a legitimate king and ruler of a country. He's got things to do. He can't go superhero all the time. So when he does come visit, like, he usually has a point to it, or they really need his help because fuck, they can't find anyone else at the time. And I think that I've seen that a couple different crossovers where T'Challa's helped out as the Black Panther, but they gave them like a laundry list of reasons why they need him first, because the Fantastic Four are in space, the Hulk's missing, Thor's off-world, like just ridiculousness. And of course, in times of desperation, and once an Avenger, always an Avenger. But again, he's got responsibilities. It's not cool. So again, like, definitely a good movie. I'll definitely have to get the review up. Again, I've picked up letterboxd.com. It's letterboxd.com. So we're putting up reviews there now. I've got to probably eventually fix the account so that it is more We Are Movie Club, because right now it's Camera Eye. But eventually it'll happen. You can still search for We Are Movie Club and you'll see our reviews pop up, or Bad Movie Club, or Scary Movie Squad. So I'll have to figure out a way to distinguish the main club, maybe. I don't know. But until you see us next time, I've gotta get going. So have a nice day from all of us here at #WeAreMovieClub. If you say anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations and they'll take you to other channels. Thanks for watching.